Motorstorm is a franchise that defined the PlayStation 3. It was a fun arcade racer that had a huge emphasis on chaos and car crashes, and it's fondly remembered as a classic racing game by many PlayStation fans. But how did the series start and why did it end? Well, join me in a retrospective look at the Motorstorm series. Minus RC because I sadly do not own it. Motorstorm will be developed by the now defunct Evolution Studios, based in the United Kingdom. They got their start by making the World Series of racing games on the PS2, so they definitely knew what market they wanted to corner. But Evolution Studios are most remembered by the Motorstorm series. First released in 2007 on the PlayStation 3, of course, it would, in my own personal opinion, become one of the best PlayStation franchises. And in a time when the PS5 isn't really releasing that many good games or new franchises, I think it's a good time to talk about some of the older ones that are forgotten. I don't hear Motorstorm being brought up with the PlayStation IPs or even the racing game conversation. It's an arcade-focused racing game, which those are my kind of racing games. Like, I love Midnight Club 3 in LA. Actually, that's another forgotten game franchise. Maybe I should do a review on that someday. It's very apparent that they are heavily focused on fun and chaotic racing, with car crashes and explosions, akin to the Burnout franchise. During my time playing, I did find that there were some races that were difficult than others, where you'd have to restart, you wouldn't get it on the first attempt. The game has no set difficulty slider, but I haven't seen any evidence of adaptive difficulty, so maybe just some races are harder than others and some aren't. Which I like it that way. I like when racing games have a slight challenge, but they're not overly difficult. Cough cough, Midnight Club 3. This is one of the few racing games that I can sit down and play without getting pissed off when crashing. As much as I love Midnight Club 3, I find myself getting pissed easily at that game. One complaint about Motorstorm I do have is that the bikes and racing trucks are really hard to use. The bikes are just insanely sensitive to the touch, I feel. Like, I would find myself trying to turn quickly and then go sliding off a cliff. And the racing trucks are just too sluggish and slow. I always hated how, like, I would try and turn and crash into a rock or fall off a cliff, completely ruining my race. Thankfully, though, the crashes are cinematic and cool enough to the point where sometimes, just for fun, I would just boost. I would overboost and crash. On the topic of vehicles, though, I am happy to report that Motorstorm does have a good selection of different vehicle types. There's the racing trucks, ATVs, buggies, the rally cars, the big rigs, and the mud pluggers. The game's location is pretty fitting as well. It takes place in Monument Valley, which, fun fact, is a real place in Arizona. Most of the locations in this game are rocky and muddy with a lot of cliff-centric areas, and I noticed during my gameplay that ramps or jumps would have signs that said no big rigs or rally cars, and failing to listen to these will lead to potentially losing the race, so be careful and listen, kids. It is good that I didn't find any races recycled during my time with the game. Only 2 or 3 times the same race showed up, but it wasn't overly apparent that they're being recycled. Motorstorm still looks very good, I might add. Even though the game is from 2007, I didn't see any ugly textures or graphics that made me go, ew. Another thing that Motorstorm offers is slight vehicle damage. Seeing your vehicle get caved in certain places is a nice touch of detail that went unnoticed when playing this game again. Overall, the first Motorstorm game is a really good racing game. I recommend it to anybody who's a fan of arcade racers and PlayStation fans. It got amazing scores from reviewers and was even the included game on some of the consoles back in the day, back when the console would actually give you a game to play with. I don't think they do that anymore, but correct me if I'm wrong. Moving on a year, in 2008, we would get my personal favorite Motorstorm game, and arguably the best one in the series, Motorstorm Pacific Rift. It does everything that a sequel should. It's more expansive, it has more content, and just general quality of life improvements. It would ditch the rocky and muddy locale of Monument Valley and go for a tropical vibe, hence the name Pacific Rift. The game features 4 different zones, as the game calls it. There's the Earth Zone, which is your all-around area. The Air Zone, this focuses on big jumps and steep cliffs. The Fire Zone, which focuses on rocky mountains and lava, and in my opinion has the coolest atmosphere. And finally, the water zone. This has your waterfalls and puddles that can cool down your vehicle and prevent you from combusting and exploding. The vehicles themselves have expanded, as well as one more class being added to the vehicle list that is really special to me. The monster truck. And yes, it's fun to use. Pacific Rift has a better sense of speed. It fixed the two biggest complaints I had with the first game. It makes bikes easier and more stable, making it more fun to use. And the turning has been significantly fixed, allowing for more faster and quicker turns. At a much smoother rate, the tropical environment makes the game a lot more vibrant and colorful. These environments are really well designed. I noticed that unlike the first game, there isn't many restrictions in certain parts, like in the first game. Ramming other racers off the road is nothing new in a racing game, but Pacific Rift adds a dedicated button for it. By hitting L1 or R1, depending on your situation, you can hit or punch other racers off the road, but at the cost of some of your boosts. There were a lot of cool moments during my time on Pacific Rift that were just random moments or BS crashes. Like here, where I literally got ran over.
Move, bitch, get out the way. Get out the way, bitch, get out the way. Move, bitch, get out the way.
Also has some light customization. Instead of the slow vehicle selecting of the first game, it has its own dedicated menu where you can change the model and color. And some of these models are even really cool looking. Like there's like a bike that's like futuristic. That shit's clean. You can even customize the driver in some cases. The races themselves have been added as well. 2 new event types. These are the Eliminator races. Simply don't be in last place and you'll survive. The game actually trolls you with this race. One track requires you to use only a bike, with all the other racers being big rigs and monster trucks. Real funny, Evolution. You guys are practical jokers. I'm sure everybody found that funny. And finally, time trials. I hate time trials. In any game. I have and never will be a fan of these. Time trials are a major L. The game also does have a good sense of difficulty, I feel like. Even though you will see some of the same tracks over and over, the game naturally does get harder the deeper you get into the game, which makes sense. Overall, Pacific Rift is my personal favorite Motorstorm game. I think that it's the best one mechanically and visually because of the tropical atmosphere. Like, I'm a sucker for vibrant colors and, you know, atmosphere, level design, stuff like that. You get what I'm trying to say. I don't have the right words for it, but I'm just a sucker for all of that. Now, moving on to 2011, Motorstorm Apocalypse would be the final entry into the series, and it would completely just go balls to the wall. Set in a more urban environment instead of valleys or tropical forest, you race in a damn near destroyed city, collapsed tunnels, falling skyscrapers. This game has like Battlefield level evolution to it. Like, how you can't tell me racing through a skyscraper while the other skyscraper is falling down and can crush you. You can't tell me that's not cool. But apart from that, the game still does feel like Motorstorm, which is great. It's by far the best looking in the series, and I found myself paying attention to small details like crashing planes or AI crashing cars. One thing that this game has that the other two don't is an actual story mode with some motion comic style cutscenes. Now, unlike the last game reviewed on this channel, these motion comic style cutscenes are actually good. It follows the perspective of 3 different racers, with them actually having a different difficulty label, going from rookie to veteran difficulty. And that's not a joke, by the way. Veteran difficulty is actually difficult. Each character always ends in this big time trial where you need to get out of the city before it's destroyed. I don't mind these because the time is forgiving, but I really do hate time trials in any game. Ask anybody who knows me, they'll tell you I do not like time trials. Another area where Apocalypse shines is the customization. Revamped from Pacific Rift, you now have full control of your customization. Vinyls, rims, colors, the works. Apocalypse is actually a really well done video game, but this video is called The Life and Death for a reason. After this game and Motorstorm RC that came out on the Vita, I believe, Evolution Studios would move on to Drive Club, a PS4 exclusive that ultimately failed. And in 2016, Sony would shut down Evolution, officially ending Motorstorm, leaving it trapped on the PS3. And that sucks, because I feel like even a simple port to PS5, and no, the PS Plus tiers do not count. I mean a legitimate port or a remaster. In 2018, the studio Codemasters Evo, which was made up of various Motorstorm devs, would release Onrush, a spiritual successor of sorts to Motorstorm, that also sadly failed. The servers were shut off and the game was pulled from digital storefronts, and that sucks because I actually wanted to buy this game for this video and play it and talk about it, but I don't think they ever made any physical copies, so I have no way of getting the game. But with that said, Motorstorm, in my opinion, is the best racing series of the 7th generation of consoles. And I definitely would recommend it to anybody looking to play a new racing game if you haven't played it before, or if you played it in the past. If you still got your PS3, fire it up and play it, or emulate it. They work great on emulators too. It's 2024, man. I feel like these games are becoming more accessible to the younger generation, which I appreciate. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This video has literally just sat on my computer for months, and I just haven't gotten around to edit to it. So here it is now. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, consider leaving a like, subscribe. I don't usually plug my socials, but if you want to go follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all that, they're in the description. I post art and shit on my Instagram and Twitter. I'm active on Twitter, but go follow me if you want to. I don't care if you don't or do or don't, but just figure I'd plug my socials. Anyway, peace. Thanks for watching.